everybody. Thank you for joining us once again, where today my very special guest is Jeannie, and she's had quite a trip, really, quite a road with her personal health and quite a journey of discovery regarding our good friends, the plants, and some of their toxins, the oxalate. That, yes. So that's enough from me already. Jeannie, up on your hind legs, tell us all about it, and we'll listen with interest.
Well, it seems that I've had pretty much a lifetime of toxicity, unbeknownst to myself. Looking back, I'm 68 years old right now, and I would say that I just started to heal about 3 years ago when I figured out that what was actually killing me was me trying to be healthy by eating plants. And I had a tremendous, I just spiraled downward. I mean, I can go all the way back, which I won't give you every detail of everything that I've been through, but all the way back to my childhood with anxiety problems, surgeries in my 20s. I went into my 30s having thyroid problems, being on thyroid medication extremely young. Starting in my 40s, diverticular infections those spiraled into C. diff, which ended up costing me part of my colon. I had to have a colon resection because I was getting C. diff because I was constantly infected from the diverticulitis infections. So that segued into incisional hernias that opened up, adhesions. It ended up being 7 surgeries. Vulvodynia, if you know what that is, unending UTIs, constantly, on antibiotics, and still juicing, eating huge bowls of salad, trying to keep myself out of the hospital by eating more spinach. And I can't, thinking back on it right now, it's like such a nightmare of what I went through. And the whole time, not being aware that what was happening was that I was actually killing myself. I come from an Italian background, so all we did was eat, what could be better than a big bowl of pasta with something green stuck in there with some cheese on top. And that's how we ate. And so that was my cultural way of eating also. And never in my life did I ever imagine until 3 years ago when I ended up I ended up with vulvodynia. I ended up with gastritis so bad that I couldn't even function. I was on fire from my mouth to my, and I ended up with such bad vertigo that I was in the hospital just grabbing onto I guess that morning I got up and thought, gee, I'm not feeling good today. Maybe I'll juice some turmeric and spinach, and drank it down. And by the time the nighttime came around, I couldn't stand up. But it ended up being a blessing in disguise, because when I went to the emergency room, and when I actually was able to land and think, I remembered my mother had vulvodynia, breast cancer, anxiety and depression, typical quintessential toxic oxalate poisoning. Okay. And I remembered at that time that I had, by the way, there's no dignity attached to any of this. You just tell the whole story, right?
Yep.
Because if it ends up helping people, it's worth it. I don't care. Sometimes I say, well, what are you doing? You're telling everybody your personal business. You call in with resection. You have vulvodynia. You have this and that. It doesn't matter, because it's such a serious topic, and so many people are so deceived right now by what's going on, and they're ill and they have no understanding why. Swollen joints. A lupus diagnosis, every possible thing, autoimmune problems, thyroid problems, ringing ears, gigantic floaters in my eyes, white dust on my brain. Nobody knew what it was. Cysts the size of an egg in my breasts. So I remembered that my mother, when she was really sick, we didn't know at that time that she had the vulvodynia. I had gotten in contact with the Vulva Pain Foundation, and they said, cut out the beets, cut out the spinach, cut out the tea, the nuts, the seeds, and all of this, and your pain will go away. I didn't have anything to lose. I couldn't even move. So I did what it said. And as each day passed, Bart, this is what actually happened. It was like having a fire inside my body. And each day that I passed, as I got off those vegetables, the fire, the heat of that fire just began to dial down until I was like, what is this? What have I hit upon here that I didn't know? But the great thing about it was that was enough of a reward when the burning stopped. But so many other things changed that I didn't even know were related. I thought it was only the burning, that my body was on fire. I had a cyst the size of an egg in one breast. It went away. My thyroid numbers, they're all straightening out. I have no more inflammation in my fingers. I can open jars. It's like everything that you thought that you were going to have because you were getting older is not true. It's a lie. And so it's going to be 3 years in August that I finally have gotten to the point where I've been without, I wouldn't say 100% without plants. I would say 95% without plants and moving to totally being without plants. You segue into like a low oxalate diet, and you're still eating some low oxalate plants. But at this point, it's like, why? Right? It's kind of like, why?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So tell us about the actual process of the oxalate dumping itself. What was your experience on that train? How did that go for you? Tell us about that.
The train's still going, brother.
Yeah.
On it. Okay. So I would say that within the first couple of months, I guess when the actual oxalate gets out of your blood, you kind of like have somewhat of a honeymoon, and you like feel 30 years younger, and you're like, what is this? It's like, that movie, The Awakening, where all those old people all of a sudden thought they were 22 again. That's what it feels like. But I go through extreme dumping. It's very cyclic. Yeah. I've actually, had the symptoms that I've had, like the gastritis come back, where I've had severe gastric dumping. I'll get migraine headaches. My joints will start to swell up again and all this, but it happens in waves. And now that I'm 3 years into it, I know when it's happening. And usually it's kind of odd. It kind of starts with mood changes. I kind of start crying, I have depression. My husband's like, oh my God, drink a cup of tea. Maybe that'll help you not feel so. And I stick with the citric acids. I try to drink lemon and take the magnesium, the potassium, and the calcium citrates to try to help with that. And just try to remember that it's part of the healing process. I have these things out of my life. And in reality, I actually feel better than I have in the last 30 years, despite the dumping process. And I know that I'm on the road. Honestly, Bart, I have like a lot of collateral damage. My connective tissue took a huge hit from the oxalate toxicity. I don't know if you want to, get into it. It's like I have MTHFR. I don't detox well. I also have a spectrum disorder, which I don't know if you know Susan Owens and any of the work that she's done, but they've done work where they found that people on the spectrum have 3 times higher oxalate levels than neurotypicals. So I won the lotto. I won the oxalate lotto. Right? So, yeah.
Okay. Have you had the skin rashes as well as the other stuff? Tell us about that if you have.
I've had, all these rashes on my arms. My husband actually is also on a low oxalate diet, but he was kind of like, okay, honey, I don't know if I really believe this. And one day he comes downstairs and his eyes are like swollen shut and he's covered with a rash.
Yeah.
It was dumping. Yeah. And, I've had gout show up when I've never had gout, where my ankle will just swell up out of nowhere and I can't walk for a week. And then, I think that migraines, skin in the beginning was a big deal. I'd have like a lot of white crystallization on my skin coming out of my eyes. And so tremendous amount of tartar, So, yeah. But listen, I'm excited about it because I'm healing.
Yeah. It's a blessing in disguise, isn't it?
It is a blessing in disguise. It is a blessing in disguise because it's on its way out. It's got to leave. And, some people, when you talk to them, they're like, how long is this going to take? How long are you going to dump? Well, I took 65 years getting myself sick. I'm not going to get over it in 2 weeks, right? People expect instantly, oh, you stopped eating it and it's gone. Well, it's everywhere in my body, and it's probably going to be there till the day I die. So I'm just going to keep moving forward and trying to nourish myself with real food. And I'm in a position now where, I don't really know. Scientifically, I'm clueless, okay? But I know personal experience, what I've gone through because of it. And I'm using the little tiny platform that I have to share that message with people, as shockingly as I can, because people need to be scared straight with this stuff.
Yeah. No, we thank you for your candor, and we thank you for your willingness to share with us in as much detail as you're comfortable doing, because I really agree with you that people will tend to dismiss the oxalate toxicity issue as not really a major issue, or maybe it's just an issue for some people and others not so much and all that. How do you respond to that when someone says to you, oh yes, fine, maybe you had a problem with oxalates, but the rest of the world are doing just fine eating all these plants? How do you react to that?
Isn't good for some people. It's like some people can drink gasoline and it's okay for them. It's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. It's like it's poison. Yeah. It's not good for some people. And the bottom line is you could have no symptoms and still be on your way down. And when it hits you, you're going to be so far gone, you're going to wish you listened now. Okay, because I don't believe, I might be really militant about it, but I don't believe anybody's getting away with this. Okay, nobody's getting away. You can go around thinking, today I met somebody that's juicing turmeric. I used to do that, and it's like, I'm very happy that you have the opinion that you're going to somehow escape the result of eating poison every day, but you're not going to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. I say, you know what? Oh, really? Well, I only eat a little of it, so it's not going to affect me that much because I only eat a little. Oh, so that's like saying I can only eat a little. I can drink a little shot of gasoline. As long as I don't drink the whole half gallon of it, I'm fine. No, you're not. You're deceived is what you are.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's frustrating, right?
Yep. Well, welcome to my world a bit. I'm trying to get these ideas across to people, in whatever way I can, on whatever size platform I'm able to, or I'm allowed by the powers that be to because there's the whole shadow banning thing and all of that that's been going on for years. That's for another day, though. Yeah, okay, it's almost as if these plants that are rooted to the spot can't run away, can't crawl under a rock, can't dive into a pond, fly away, escape in summer. It's almost as if over, billions and billions of years, they have evolved a way of stopping animals from eating them or discouraging animals from eating them. Right. And people can't see that. They go like, well, they seem to have this idea that plants exist on this planet for the sole purpose of feeding us or something.
I don't get it at all. And the other argument is like, well, meat, the greatest one of all is the red meat thing, that red meat is killing everybody. Well, if that's true, the human race wouldn't even exist, because what do you think we ate for thousands of years? Think we were eating spinach smoothies? No, we were not. We were eating for survival. Yeah. And so to say, well, if you eat too much red meat, it's going to kill you. Well, how does that work out in logic? Does anybody have a brain? Can't they think? Can't they logic things out and say, well, wait a minute, if that was true and we ate it for thousands of years, would there even be a human race right now? We wouldn't be here.
Yeah, no,
So
the good grown-ups at science told people how to think and what to believe, and they just basically what they did is they sat down on their couch and they took their brain out of their head and they threw it at that stupid box in the corner that told them what to think, and said, "Look after this for me. I'll be back for it in 50 years or something."
yeah.
But I mean, just the other day I was watching something on that very same idiot lantern box thing in the front room, and I was looking at some cave paintings that were on this program about these ancient cave paintings that were put there tens of thousands of years ago, and it's incredible that there's a bunch of people sat around with their electric blenders and their kale, which didn't exist at the time, and their bowls of fruit and everything that they were eating. No, actually, what it was
Spears and bowls.
bows and arrows, projectiles like rocks being thrown, large groups of hunters, ganging up on woolly mammoths and doing that. And not a single picture of a salad or a kale smoothie or an electric blender or.
And now the powers that be that, have done everything to keep us safe, now are pushing bugs and plants on us. You know what I say? I think I said this, whatever they tell me to do or they suggest that group over there, I'm doing the opposite because thus far anything they've suggested for me has nearly killed me.
Yep.
Everybody else I know.
You will eat the bugs. And you will own nothing, and you will be happy. Eat the bugs.
I know, and I think you work in higher education also, right?
I used to.
Yeah, I am still there. Okay.
All right.
And I also say, oh, I'm sorry. That's where I've been working for 30 years. But I also write. I'm a political writer. I won't tell you my politics, but I'll just say it doesn't go with the grain. That's just all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
so
I don't either. I don't espouse accepted narrative. I'm a very, very bad man, clearly.
Me too. I'm on the list. I got news for you. But I was read on the floor of Congress 3 times. Right. And it was read on the side of the aisle that most people, don't want it to be read on. So that's okay. I like it. My husband's like, they're outside the window for sure, hanging upside down in commando gear. If you see a red dot on the wall, just fall on the floor.
That's it.
I don't care. So the plant thing is just more of the same. And you say, well, it's just about food. No, it's not. It's about politics too. It's all combined. It's about education. It's about politics. It's about control. It's like, why would they be trying to tell us to eat something that is poison? That's what I want to know.
Well, to keep us timid, servile, under control, and also to set us brother against brother, sister against sister, to divide and conquer us, basically, to control us with their excremental, pustulist, left-wing nonsense, basically.
Yeah. And it's the funniest thing, Bart. I don't know, we weren't going to talk about this, but I have this horrible feeling, and it's reminiscent of parochial school, where you had to line up and you weren't allowed to do this and you couldn't wear that. And it's almost like pervasive in the air right now. I can feel it. It's like where I have to think about what I say. Am I allowed to say that? What do you mean? Are you allowed to say that? Why would you even think that in a free country, supposedly free? So this plant thing is great for me because I've said things that are a whole lot more dangerous and edgy than don't eat plants. So I'm a perfect person to come out and say, I don't really care what you think about meat. I don't care. Oh, but what about this argument? I'm going to ask you, what about all the nutrients in vegetables? Yeah, what about them? Do you absorb any of those nutrients? No. You get more nutrients out of a little piece of steak where the animal did the work for you. And now when you eat it, it's bioavailable. Your body actually absorbs it. And now you have what you need. You could eat 20 bowls of spinach. You're not going to get anything out of that.
Well, except oxalate poisoning.
Yeah. I mean, is that hard to understand? Or do you just choose not to believe it?
I think people in general are vastly too malleable They're too manageable. They're too servile. I actually refer to them as sheeple.
That's what they are.
In general, because all you need is a couple of dogs making a bit of noise, and these people will go whichever direction they're shepherded in, and it's incredible. And not only will they actually suck this ridiculous lollipop they're being offered that doesn't make any sense at all, they will actually defend that idea and get very, very upset with people like me who are prepared to say, hang on just a second here. Whoa. Let's just back the bus up here for a second and let's think this through about what you've just said. Does it make sense? Is it scientifically indicated, valid, justified? Or are you mindlessly parroting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you want to know why? People aren't allowed to think anymore. They're being dictated to. The kids have no critical thinking skills. You know, I used to be in the classroom and I hate it, but because, you know, it was just like horrible. But, you know, challenging them with something like, you know, a tiny little critical skill, a critical thinking lesson, and they're clueless. They can't put two ideas together to line them up and say what makes sense here, what's logical here. And that's exactly where they want everybody to be. The people, you should be excited about not being, or people looking at you that way, because you can think. Congratulations. You're one of the very few that actually can. Yeah. And you know what? I'd rather go down in flames, not in oxalate flames, may I say. I don't like those. I'd rather go down in flames, standing up for what's true and what's right and what's just, and going against popular opinion and trying to grab as many sheeple out of the fire as I can. I'd rather lose my life on something like that than to have to just die from oxalate poison because I was too stupid to figure out that I shouldn't be juicing turmeric.
Yep. Can't agree more. The other thing that occurs to me as a question, why on God's green earth are these politics that are being pushed, this narrative, why on earth is it being referred to as progressive?
Oh, man, I have a book for you to read. I'll tell you about it later.
I'll tell you what, while we're talking about books, I've got one for everybody as well, for those that are interested in such things. You should get a book by Professor Gard.
Okay.
And it is called, I forget what it's called. I'll link it underneath. It's The Parasitic Mind or something like that. Very similar to that.
The reason they call it progressivism is because they're progressing. They're making progress in their agenda. That's what the progression is. It's not progressiveness as far as we're progressing towards something better. It's we have an agenda and we are progressing you towards that end. Yeah. And so we are involved in a global progressive movement where they are moving us in a direction, and they actually have us. They don't have me and they don't have you and they don't have some people that I know. They actually have us in a position where most people are cooperating. We're the bad guys.
Yeah. Yeah, they're absolutely complicit, and they are defending this.
Losing their freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I don't know what year the First Amendment was signed over there in the US. 1700 and something, wasn't it?
Right.
And now basically they're rolling back on that thing, and they're calling it progressive. Well, no. Now you're back to the 18th century. That's regressive. In the British dependencies and colonies and things, we had a piece of paper called the Magna Carta, which was signed in 1600 and something, right, which basically freed the masses from the unquestioned rule of the king, or the crown, we should say. And, you know, roll on 2019, 2020, and all of that is swept aside in a heartbeat, and they call it progressive.
because they're molding. They've set everything up. Oh God, can I say this?
You can. We can edit out anything that's too subversive.
Okay, well, then I'll be myself. Okay, so they've boxed us into the political correctness corner where we cannot speak because of everything has been elevated in a sense of what's fair to people. So your thought processes, even if it's true, can be perceived as being unfair. So now fairness takes priority over freedom, right?
Yeah.
That's where we are right now. You know, sometimes freedom in America used to be that you could say something that was unpopular and it was okay because you had the right in the First Amendment to say whatever you want, except for, oh my God, the movie theater's on fire, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know, you have these monitors. So what they've done is they've actually boxed us into a little corner now where we can't get out because everybody's feelings and sensitivities and sensibilities have become the monitors to our freedom. And so we can't be free anymore. We can't express ourselves. We can't even say what's true. But I know a lot of very important people in history who have died for freedom. So it's not a new concept. They don't like it, so they'll nail you to a tree if you say the wrong thing, correct?
Yeah, exactly. There's this cry out there, I think now in more recent generations than yours or mine, where these kids are basically wailing and crying into their bears and saying, I'm offended, as if that means anything to anybody, or that should be taken seriously, or that I should moderate my behavior in some way because you're offended. There's a British comedian that a lot of Americans are probably aware of through his role as Lord Melchett in the Blackadder series. I'm talking Stephen Fry here. And he was interviewed about all of this and said, you know, the younger generation and all of this and everyone running around saying, I'm offended. And he was like, yes, I hear that a lot. And I couldn't give a shit. So what? I love it. So what if you're offended?
And buck up and grow up. So these are the people that are eating the spinach, okay? So we understand why they have a problem mentally, okay? So you're offended. You're not offended by people that are taking away your freedom. You're not offended by people that are hurting you on lines and shooting you with substances that we don't even know what they do to you. You know, we don't know any of this. You're not offended by any of that, but you're offended if somebody says, maybe if you have certain parts on your body, you need to go into that bathroom instead of that one, okay? Because that's the way things are. So that offends you, okay? So now I have to sit in the bathroom with somebody that's got the opposite sex genitalia because I don't want to offend that person. That's the insanity of what we're living with. And we're saying to each other, how are we going to convince people not to eat spinach?
Yeah, I don't know. Should we throw our hands in the air and give up, or do we just keep telling it like it is? I mean, I guess for my money, it's the latter. We just have to keep moving forward.
Listen, you have to tell the truth. The truth is the truth, even if nobody believes it, correct?
Yep.
The truth is true.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change because people are offended. The truth doesn't change because people don't believe it. And if nobody believes the truth, it still remains true. Sorry, it doesn't get moved around and adjusted based on how people feel about things.
No, it doesn't. I wish you could negotiate with the truth in reality, in this objective reality, the one in which we actually find ourselves. I wish. However, what I have found in my nearly 51 trips around the sun is that you can't.
You're a little baby.
Yeah, I know. Just a young'un. But I have found in that period of time that there's no way to negotiate with reality. It is what it is. And you can mold your reality to some degree by changing the way you react to it. But you can't change what it is actually in the real world. And I think that the thing that's at fault here is probably people around about my age and slightly younger who have brought up the next generation of kids to believe several things. Those things being that their opinion is just as valid as somebody else's with vastly more experience in the area and vastly more knowledge in the area. No, it isn't. That the way to be correct is to say, I'm offended, as if that means anything. And every participant should get a trophy.
No.
Also,
And that's
the world champion in women's swimming can have a 9-inch penis.
Exactly. So you know what? Listen, way back in the 80s, so you were probably a little kid, okay? My kids, I have a son that's 46 years old, right? So I remember when they would be walking up to people on the street, it was like a new thing that they would do. They would say, how do you feel about thus and such? And they would be, I think, blah, 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 blah. And I would say to my husband, this is extremely dangerous because those people actually think their opinions mean something or they have any impact on anything, which is not true. So now we have an entire generation that they think because they feel a certain way or think a certain thing, that somehow has some impact on what I said before, truth or reality, and it has none. So this is the kind of people that we have coming up next. That's the progression that they wanted. You were asking about progression. That's the progress. They have accomplished their goal. You have what's called, moral relativism, where people get to dictate in a society what's right and what's wrong based on their own feelings. You cannot have that. You have more relativism has been the destruction of society because, like I said before, right is right even if nobody's right, and wrong is wrong even if everybody's wrong. And you go back to the basic tenets of the Magna Carta and the U.S. Constitution. They were built with a moral code. They didn't take into consideration somebody's feelings. They tried to take into consideration what is truly moral and truly right, and have that as the foundation of nations.
Absolutely.
And we're stuck in this, huh? You hear me?
Oh, yes. I'm with you.
How do we get there from Oxalate? But it's a very serious problem.
Yep. Very serious indeed. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. I could talk to you all day. We're on the same bus. We're on the same team in terms of, how we feel about what people are doing to our society all around us. It's disgraceful and
not going to be popular. I'm going to tell you that bad news, okay?
Yeah, well, it's going to be popular on my channel. On my channel, this is the kind of thing that is popular. This is the prevailing belief of my supporters. I
love it.
So they will enjoy this discussion very much.
I expect to discuss this with you today, but I'm happy that I did, because if you listen to the powers that be, they would make you believe that everybody disagrees with how you feel and what you think. And there's more of us that think this way than don't.
Yeah, the problem is not enough people will stand up on their soapbox and say so, frankly, for fear that they'll be cancelled, silenced, told that they're espousing, I should say, an unacceptable narrative and all of that kind of stuff. And we just need to have the courage of our convictions. Our forefathers did not go to war and fight and die for our freedom so that we could give it up quite so meekly, frankly. They'll be turning in their graves. They'll be disgusted with what's happened in this generation. And most notably in the last 3 or 4 years, so incredibly so. I mean, it's been planned for a long time and they've rolled it out perfectly. But the rapidity with which this has occurred is just stunning.
I got to tell you, I've been I'm trying not to mix my oxalate with all my politics because it's two different subjects and there's all kinds of people on the oxalate side. Yeah. But I will tell you, I've been writing for almost 20 years, politics, okay? And that was what, very controversial. And I'm not ashamed. I'm very conservative. And, I've had my life threatened. I've had people say they were going to cut off my head with a sawzall. I've, been read on the floor of Congress. The things that I've written are edgy and they're controversial, and I don't care. I really don't care, because I have to answer to something higher than this government that we're sitting here looking at. that's full of demonic, I don't know what they are, beasts. I don't know what they are. And I have to stay true to who I am. And if people don't like me for it, this isn't a popularity contest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm kind of on the same boat to my own level, doing my own thing. Mostly I'm talking about nutrition, but I don't mind getting into politics from time to time, just dipping the toe in the water and letting people know, if it wasn't already clear, what the feelings are on that topic. So, yeah, look, once again, Jeannie, thank you very, very much for your time. I do appreciate it very, very much.
It's so nice to meet you. I was a little scared to meet you.
Oh,
you know,
come on, I'm a soft teddy bear. Well, this is a soft teddy bear.
God, don't be scared of him. I was like, I don't, he's. So, yeah, I'm very happy to meet you. And
likewise.
I hope to talk to you again.
That'd be great. Now, listen, in the meantime, folks, when you go into your supermarkets, if for some reason, I don't know why, but if for some reason you are buying products that are manufactured food products in a package, read the labels on everything, even products you have been using for years.
Yes.
Because in the last few months, it has become legal, it is happening, and it's happening right now. You will find insects on the ingredients list in your manufactured food products.
Say that again?
You will find insects are being used in manufactured food products in the supermarket that you can go and look at today. And you don't know they're there because they're not singing it from the rooftops. But if you don't read the labels, then you will be eating the bugs.
I love that.
So read your labels. Or even better.
You know what you do? Forget about all the boxes and the labels and everything else. Eat steak, eat meat, drink water, clean water, and put some damn salt on your food, for God's sakes. And
Absolutely. 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 Those are words to live by. Those were our people today. Join me next time where probably someone will be wrong on interwebs because this doesn't look like a slowdown in that regard anytime soon. See you then. Ciao for now.